Welcome back, Mr. Jacob Dahl. Today, we have the second place winner behind Jill for being the most invited back guest we've ever had. And we are excited about that because Jacob is a world traveler. He is a phenomenal, experienced person in a lot of spiritual matters, which I deeply appreciate and enjoy, and I think you will too. We are primarily discussing what is not only the meaning of spirituality, but how different religions have their spiritual beliefs and how that might tie into the overall energetic forces of the cosmos, the source of all things. And it is a fascinating discussion. So Jacob, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. I'm happy to be here.
And I'm happy to be smoking cigars with you in the video room. In case y'all don't know, cigars are a spiritual tool. We did a fantastic podcast on it many months ago. It is a commitment. So I am committing my time and energy and level of intense focus on this conversation. So I'd like for y'all to do the same. And oh, that just sounds beautiful. So bear with me just one moment while we get this sucker kicked off. I would tell y'all, all of our regulars that join us, and if y'all don't know, we talk about subjects that really help us get to know ourselves better, that help us dive into how to utilize our critical thinking, that we may ultimately practice the art of listening better, that we may connect with our loved ones better and other people that we're acquainted with. And in doing so, it allows us ultimately to meditate and to communicate with the source of all things in a better way. And if that appeals to you, then you are in the right spot. If not, then see ya. We were talking on the way over here about, does it make any sense, or is it a judgmental type behavior when we say, because you are a Muslim, or you believe in Buddhism, or if you believe in the Hindu gods or Christianity, that how can the mind of a man, a human, just go, hey, I know that Pentecostal over there or Catholic just had a really deep spiritual experience in their religion, and they truly felt like they were praying to their God. And I don't believe that the source of all things, the creator of all, is going to come down and say, hey, screw you, Jacob. You're praying to God. And in your mind, whatever version of that is that you were raised in whatever part of the world, I just don't see it. I don't see how God, in all of my meditations and connecting with what I believe to be the source of all things, that would say, no, that Christian thing, that's not who I am, so you're out, I'm not talking to you. Or, oh, you're praying to Allah. Well, I'm not Allah, you know. I don't think that's how, I hope at least that's not how it works, and I don't believe that's how it works.
Yeah, I think it has to do with intentions a lot, doesn't it? Because these spiritual experiences usually happen when someone has an intention set on something. So does it have to do with intention or the actual word that you would use, whether it's God or Allah or Buddha or...
Well, yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the word itself, because if people were to just educate themselves, most people don't realize that the letter J was a relatively new invention in terms of the alphabet. Mm-hmm. So, it's basically 500 or so years ago, and Jesus wasn't pronounced Jesus. And in the Bible, it says God is calling him Emmanuel, and Emmanuel is not Jesus. It was Joseph who said, call him Jesus, but God said, call him Emmanuel. So, and there was no J, so you're pronouncing it wrong anyway. So is God gonna say, okay, the Jesus thing is the true one? So, but y'all are all calling me by the wrong name because y'all can't pronounce it, or you got it wrong. I don't think there's going to be some sort of cosmic animosity when you die. You go up in St. Peter's gates and he's like, nah, no, dude, sorry, you can't come in. You mispronounced the big guy's name over there. Yeah. You had a great life, helped a lot of people. You did some amazing stuff, but you need to work on your pronunciation.
Especially like when you consider the fact that people all over the world, no matter what their religion is, no matter what their background is, will throughout their lives have spiritual experiences. And then maybe they're not always aware of it, but I mean everyone will have them. So it can't have anything to do with what religion really are to be able to get it.
I think you're right with that. I think that a lot of people, because we've had a lot of comments lately about all religions are horrible. You people are a scam for even talking about religion. We've had a lot of those, and I think that's sad that certain people think that way, because I know a lot of really good-hearted, nice Christians, and I have met some unbelievably nice people I enjoyed being around that are Muslim, and met countless Hindus and Buddhists that I loved being around.
Even atheists and agnostics.
Yeah.
They all fall into these categories of people that are just...
They're good.
Great to be around.
I know actually a few atheists, and they value their time more than most because they believe this is the only time that they have. And so they want to utilize it and love while they can, achieve whatever they possibly can. And there's I don't think there's anything wrong with those setting those type of ideals. I just happen to disagree with them that there is no source of all things. Because, well, for one simple thing, if we subscribe to the notion of the Big Bang or something similar to it, well, okay, what caused that? Where did that energy come from? And then where? Like if that is the idea of where space and time began, well, what was on the other side of that? Mm-hmm. You know, what caused it? Well, you could say, oh, it was energy. All right, well, what caused the energy?
Yeah, and like, how do you create time before time? I mean,
you're not marking time before. There's no seconds going by.
I mean, all of a sudden, let's have some. So yeah, I don't subscribe to that idea either. I can subscribe to the fact that maybe the Big Bang happened and it could be an event more than anything.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the source of all things can do it however he wants to or she wants to.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a causality. Like, it's not the cause of anything. It's just a happening of things.
Yeah, maybe that could have been some kind of great idea how to get the ball started. Mm-hmm. Hey, maybe God just likes fireworks. Like, man, this is fantastic. I'm going to show these Chinese how to do fireworks, and it's going to spread worldwide. Yeah, I think it's fascinating because so many people think that they are 100% right. I have some people close to me that say, Kevin, I'm really worried about you because you only take the better parts of Christianity to apply them into your life. But you don't subscribe in the idea that you need to go through Jesus to get to God. And they're like, you're going to probably burn in hell forever. Well, I got a little tiny problem with that. Yeah, I don't believe you need a middleman to get to God. I don't believe that anybody needs to subscribe to the idea that, you can't get to God unless you go through your preacher, your pope, your whatever it is, your Jesus. I think at least for me, and it has been for me, when I go into the fields out here and I meditate, and the people that come here on Sundays, we get together and meditate outside. I don't need a middleman. I feel the presence of that universal energy, and it's phenomenal. And by me not evoking the name of Jesus, which would be pronounced incorrectly anyway, and probably calling him the wrong name, it's I just kind of find it silly.
I don't even believe that you have to have the right perception of God.
No.
I mean, you can have an idea of God that is wrong, and it's probably still going to listen to you, because you have all these different religions that have had shared or similar experiences, and they've been going about it all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
So circling back to that intention thing, if you have a good intention or a curiosity of some sort to a higher power, that seems to be what triggers a lot of this for people.
I think so too. Let's just think it this way: like if you are a father and you have your son, and maybe you're this all powerful being, and you have a son or daughter, and you happen to go away on your cosmic work for a little while, and you hadn't come back to see them in a bit, but they are praying to you and wishing you well and sending you good vibes and good intentions, but they got the idea of you all wrong. Are you, as a father, as a creator, going to come back and just say, no, you screwed all that up. Let me just go bang, stamping you out. Let me start again. Because if that is what the cosmic energies are, then that's really sad.
Yeah, then I would say everyone's got it wrong.
Yeah,
everyone is
everybody.
looking to some sort of higher power, loving, forgiving. And if that's not the case, then you can't really expect everyone to fall into the understanding of it at all.
I think you're right. When I started going down my spiritual path, I mean, it's really been my entire life, but in a big way, 5-ish or so years ago, and you start studying all of these different religions, and you find these wonderful people in all of them, and then you just have to reflect on that, because every one of them believe nobody else is right but us. And I think whenever you have that sort of mentality, then you know you're wrong. Like, you should know that you're probably wrong. It's kind of like whenever you're doing super well in life and in business, something always knocks you off your pedestal. It's kind of like that same sort of belief. Oh, I'm so rock solid in that. Yeah, if you're not a little flexible in how you go about thinking, then you may not ever get to the truth. You're locking yourself into this box that you're never going to be able to get out of, because you won't even recognize or tolerate or listen to any other idea that may be plausible.
We see this all throughout history as well. Countless accounts of just conviction of this is right. And where has that usually led humanity?
To wars, division.
To division, to just
they're different than us.
Inhumanity.
Yeah, all you have to do is look at the Crusades, when Christians had to go around killing everybody to be Christian.
Yeah, or the Spanish Inquisition. And
Or you have Salem witch trials. You are a magician. You are a witch. When most of them had epilepsy. It's crazy. It's a sad sort of state of affairs that the minds of men and women can so easily get manipulated to believe that their particular culture is 100% correct. The majority of those type minds have never traveled the world. They've never gone like we have to India and been in all of those wonderful, varied temples, and just wow, or gone into Italy and gone into all those fantastic Christian basilicas and churches. They're just phenomenal. And the people inside them, for the most part, are super friendly. And especially if they know you're not from there and probably not of their religion, the vast majority of them are pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure. Doesn't matter if it's a mosque in Morocco or a temple in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And you get these experiences.
Before I went into into Doha, Qatar, or Qatar, however you pronounce it, in the Middle East, I had so many friends say, "Man, really be careful. I know you travel a lot around the world, but really be careful." And that for some reason always makes me a little nervous. Like, why are you planting that seed in my head? What do you know about Qatar that I don't know about? You're making me a little, I don't know. And then, of course, you read the propaganda on the government's travel thing. Everywhere you go is horrible. But everywhere you go in the United States is worse, which I find just super sad. Before we came in here, I was reading a news article of these two teens from South America that were just stabbed at Grand Central Station yesterday. And the guy's yelling, death to all the color that we are. And what's going on there? This division, I don't think is what the grand creator envisions for us. It's another thing that we mentioned to kind of illustrate that point is if you look at the ball of Earth, this thing, all life comes from this planet. Everything. You can't say life is coming from somewhere else. Like it sprouted out of this Earth. So that means we are Earthlings. We are the constant movement of cells falling away, constant fluid of water coming in and out. Our bodies are changing, and it's all coming from the Earth. And so the Earth has its own frequency, its own vibration. It's sending out all these protons and electrons directly, at the surface of the Earth.
And we share that same frequency. That's our natural the Schumann resonance.
Yeah, you need to go out and take the rubber off the bottom of your shoes and take your shoes off. But not only resonating with the Earth, we are the consciousness of the Earth. The Earth itself, if we sprang through it, whether you are an atheist, agnostic, or no matter what your religion, it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that the Earth is your fundamental thing, which I think is sad because everything we are stems from the universe. I mean, from the universe, but of the Earth, and we should have a huge respect. If all religious-minded people could understand that this one globe was not created with boundaries, it was not created with passports. It was not created so I need to have permission to go see my buddy or to go see my spiritual guru in India or, whatever.
I mean, we're the only species that follow those sort of ideas, that we have limited amount of movement.
Yeah, and then we create from that, which is a real problem, these migration issues, because those are all man-made problems that end up becoming very real problems because we've created this soup that is spoiled in our minds that we are separate. And then instead of enjoying, let's say people that live here in East Texas, we have our own little culture that's different from New Orleans. But I don't have to have a passport to go from East Texas to New Orleans. If the whole world had its own pockets, like I love the city-states that used to be around the world, everybody had their little thing. If you didn't like this one city, you just go to the next city. They have some different rules. They have some different belief systems. Whatever resonates and fits with you. Kind of like the idea of the states in the United States. A lot of them are different, so you can go, even though you're under the umbrella of a tyrannical system that's going amok fast, unless you're blind and deaf.
Yeah. It gives people a lot more power over their own lives and gives them that sort of feeling of connection, I think. If we are the ones who actually have to take care of this. We can't rely on the state up in Washington D.C., or for my case, that would be in Stockholm, to fix our problems, because we're not allowed to do it ourselves, because we have to adhere to these sort of laws and regulations that someone else sets up.
Yeah, one of the great things that a lot of the religions do, and we do it here at this sanctuary, is grow food that we give to our members that participate in helping us grow. They get to keep their food, and what is left over, we are giving it away to people in need. You know, hey, this person knows this person, and they're going through a hard time. Let's help them, give them some free, good, wholesome, organic food. And a lot of churches do that, and I forget exactly where I was going with that, but it's just a thing I love about religions. Some do that.
It's taking responsibility for the
that's
place
what I was
you
going to
live.
say.
Yeah.
If you steal away communities' rights, because in some places you can't just arbitrarily go feed the homeless.
No.
That's illegal. So the state itself has become this arbiter of, we are the ones, the overriding government. This is the way we're going to take care of all people, all homeless, all the time. Instead of allowing small communities to see somebody with a problem, and if that person with a problem is willing and able to accept that assistance, and then so be it. Then allow that to take place. If somebody is wanting to better themselves, and they're in some kind of financial spot that's hurting, they're in their small network of people in their community, that community has the ability, and more often than not will be willing and able to help them. It would be a much better world without the governments.
Oh, amen to that. I mean, it takes away the sense of care for people. I think I'm paying my taxes, so the government has to do everything, and everything I get to keep, whatever little that is, where you pay 30 or 50% income tax, and then you pay tax on everything you buy. That is going to take away that sort of drive to, right, what I've made, it's mine, and I don't want it all to myself. Well, it's like I don't get it all to myself. Not whatever little I get, I want to keep. And I think that you can see that prevalent throughout the world today.
Oh, man, yeah, especially when you travel throughout the world. But then all of a sudden we have, I believe it is a sin against the universal energies God, that people have got it. We've created these societal constructs where everything primarily is focused around what do you do for a living. And you're judged based on what sort of income you make and what sort of lifestyle you have, instead of the content of your character.
It bottoms down to a lot of like how we even phrase things. For example, in Swedish you don't say what do, you say what are you, and that's how you ask what someone does for a living. So that
really,
it reduces them down to what they do it for work.
Yeah, and I think that's very unfortunate. And a lot of people choose their profession solely based on the income level that they're going to be able to do. And so they get trapped in this cycle, and the universe, that God has given us this limited amount of time, and then we spend it doing things that keep us away from our families, keep us away from our leisurely pursuits of spiritual growth, and our time to meditate, our time to fellowship, our times to come together. And I think it is a sad state of affairs. And I'm not saying that we don't all need to work and find something that resonates with us and do that. Then that's a whole nother podcast on how to create societies. And I'm not saying create utopias. I'm just saying create different ways of looking at life and actions and how to do things. Just like the simple fact of building homes, like we were talking about earlier. There are ways to use what the universe has given us, and I did a at-length podcast about this recently, how to use the thermodynamics of sucking air through the ground in pipes that keeps your home the same temperature year-round. That's a 50% reduction in your electric cost. There's so many things that can be done that would eliminate the infrastructure that we have in this country that would make it where we don't have to rely on the government. We can rely on ourselves and our neighbors and have the exact same or even better standard of living. And, well, a much better standard of living.
Sure. And also, like, when you put all of these barriers up in society, like, that makes life a bit harder. Then whatever you do focus on is usually going to be all about you. Or if you travel, it's all about just going somewhere and taking a vacation off, like a week where you go to a hotel and you just stay there and like you have a nice pool and everything's included and you just get your drinks for free and someone takes care of you, instead of going and experiencing the place or like traveling around like we have done through Italy and Panama and different places
all over
the U.S.
I just think it's people do themselves a disservice by not learning and going other places in the world. And we've talked about this before too. People think that, you need a lot of money to do those things. I mean, yes, it's expensive depending on how you want to travel. Yeah. And I mean, for me, I'm a little bit more costly than other people like to travel. Yeah. I prefer to stay in a super nice hotel. I love hotels. I love having room service if I want it. Yeah. I don't really ever use it when I'm out of town much, but I love that I can if I want to. And, I like having I spoil myself when I travel because I want a driver that understands the places that the locals go and they help me do all those things. But you don't need that. And you're a prime example of that.
Yeah, so if you can make it normalized to be a Muslim, or you can realize that is also just a way of living for people within their boundary, within their community, and within their spiritual beliefs. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but you have a better understanding for it.
I think what you said was the cameras just stopped a second ago, and Jacob was talking about how people can have a spiritual experience in their own religion, and it's the same for somebody that in another religion. I just find that to be totally true, and it's very disheartening when people automatically discount others because they don't believe in what they believe in. I mean, ultimately, everybody is praying or meditating to what they believe is the highest power. And if they are praying and meditating and working to get in tune with treating people better, with treating themselves better, and attempting to connect to the source of all things and their perception of what that is, man, who are you? Who am I? Who are you to say, they're wrong. My God's sending them straight to hell. You're an infidel. I got to, kill you. You don't. My Jesus is sending you to eternity in hell. That to me just screams of people that have been in control throughout history, which is a repeating pattern, is to demonize others for their beliefs, to discount them, and to say, you're wrong for the way you are practicing your personal religious beliefs. And I find that sickening.
It's a fear tactic, right?
Yeah, it was designed as propaganda to keep people separated. And to create these nation states that allow it easier for us to go to war.
And what can we see now in these days when religion is not as... it's still prevalent throughout the world and people have their religions, but it's not as big part of their culture or their values. Then you can see how they've started creating these other different fractions. Like now it's a lot more talk about blacks and whites and different races, sexes, different political opinions that
become a god.
They become a god, yeah. And they separate you like in a way that it didn't used to.
Yeah.
It used to be, all right, you have one political belief, I have another. We need to work this out. Now it's just like, you're wrong, you're a demon, you're a fascist, or you're a Nazi, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
These words they just throw around.
And instead of using critical thinking.
Instead of using that, or instead of using just analyzing what is it that this person actually wants.
The art of listening.
Yeah. Does this person want something evil, or does this person just have a different way of getting to a goal that is good? I mean, I just think
I think
it's
you're
very clear that it happens.
You just nailed it, because if we don't understand, hey, this guy's needing something, he's a Democrat, he's expecting these sort of things from his government, this guy's a Republican, he's expecting this. How do the two meet? And in one big system of 330 million people spread out across all sorts of diverse terrain, diverse cultures. I mean, New Orleans is a way different culture than San Francisco. San Francisco is way different than being in Manhattan.
If you're up in Alaska, I mean, your life just in general is going to be way different than down in Miami.
So to have one form of government that tells the Alaskans how to rule their life versus the people on the bayou in South Louisiana, I think is absurd.
And also, it's kind of hard to imagine that someone could know what is best for everyone, and also that they would take what is best for everyone into consideration. I mean, you who live here in Texas, you know what is best for your community. Yeah. I don't know that. I don't live here, and I'm not a part of it.
You know, me and my fellow East Texan people, most of them, quite a bit of them, you know, this is the Bible Belt, so they're mostly Christians. But what's strange in saying that is that church attendance has been steadily going down, and there is more and more places like this springing up where we're focused on the spirit and soul of a human. Like, what is the heart of you? Who are you, Jacob Dahl? You know, who am I, and how can we connect our energies in order to connect with the radiant earth and the radiant cosmos and not some woo-woo magic crap. That's not what I'm saying. If you close your eyes and you practice quieting your mind and then appreciating those thoughts that come in, and then finally being able to feel connected with some practice, that's what is emerging in large numbers around the world, because people are becoming disenchanted with especially the three main religions, because they feel like those things have been propagandized to keep them separate from other people. Mm-hmm. And to me, I believe that they are right.
So do I.
Well, it is true that without a doubt you can see how some of the religions have thwarted the minds and deep captured the hearts of people around the world. But what is so striking about that is whenever I was talking about going to Qatar, those Muslims were the nicest. I mean, they went out of their way to make us feel at home. Of course, I would find a spiritual spot like a good cigar location, because I know that when I light a cigar, amongst other fellow cigar smokers, I'm going to have a camaraderie. There's going to be this deep conversation that happens every time, everywhere around the world, and we're committing to each other. And they just went out of their way to help us in our travel, to where to go, to how to do things, how to wear our headgear. I mean, just super friendly.
I think people are going to do what resonates with them, no matter what they've been conditioned to do. And that's why we can see all of this happening today as well, with this new age spirituality springing up everywhere.
And quantum physics has played a big role in that too, without quantum physicists wanting to believe it.
No. It's just like people can be taught something. I mean, you people that have been just convinced their entire lives that, right, this is what you should believe, this is the word of God, this is right, and it still doesn't resonate with them. And that is a feeling you can't shake. It's kind of like the feeling of doing the right thing. Like if you go to Qatar, they want to treat you nicely because that resonates with humans.
Right. It's kind of like what doesn't resonate. You know, like if you're coming home late for something that was unavoidable, like you had to stay late at work, or you had to, there was something you had to do, and you get home, and instead of being greeted by a pleasant spouse, said, "Oh, I'm so glad you made it home safely, and I'm glad you're here." But instead, they just start yelling and cussing at you.
Oh, you should have done this.
Why didn't you come here? You should have called. You should have blah, just yelling at you. Well, all of a sudden you shut off, and that doesn't resonate. All of a sudden you are nothing but repelled. You have to separate. You mentally just go somewhere else. And I think, well, I don't think, I know because I see it everywhere. Whenever people know that that's not how you communicate, if you want to reach somebody else, people that have really thought about it, I should not act like a baboon. I should not just start yelling at you. That's not going to get anything accomplished. It's not going to be mutually beneficial. I'm destroying myself and whatever effort I'm trying to get at by not meditating and calming my mind and practicing that on a regular basis. So I can practice the art of listening and understanding and be grateful whenever my spouse or friend comes in late because they had something pressing that they had to do. Those are the things that are being worked on and talked about in these spiritual gatherings all over the world now. And, like Dr. Joe Dispenza. Do you know Dr. Joe Dispenza? Yeah. Those kind of practices are phenomenal. A lot of the things that Aubrey Marcus talks about, or Danica Patrick, all of those avenues of discussion are leading people on these spiritual paths, and they're all hungry for a place like this, and the places that are springing up like this where people can come together and worship and meditate the way that that resonates with them, where they're not being propagandized to. And I think it is refreshing for humanity.
Yeah, and they're allowed to question. And, those questions can be they have to, I think, be a big part of a spiritual journey.
Oh, for sure. And all the different topics that we talk about on Sundays are vital to understanding and getting to each little slice of our personality so we can peel back the onion layers of our soul so we can start to know ourselves better. Because if we don't know ourselves better, how do we know anybody else? How do we ultimately quiet our minds enough to resonate with that source energy?
Oh, you can't.
I don't think you can either.
And it goes for politics as well, or, many paths in life. But in politics, unless you start questioning, unless you start feeling what actually resonates with humans, then you're going to get what we have today in a lot of cases of just discontent and anger and this feeling of that nothing is good, nothing good is going to happen.
Yeah. And that's a self-manifestation thing too. So we have all these manifestative forces, like what I am manifesting is the people around me to have a level of financial security, a level of intellectual self-defense, spiritual self-defense, emotional self-defense, well-rounded people in a very spiritual setting, and some other forces are totally opposed to that. So what I'm manifesting opposes to what they're manifesting, and then they're colliding. Mm-hmm. And those collisions should, to me, never take place. Like ever. And if they do, then they should be squashed relatively quickly, because you're infringing upon somebody else's soul. And that should not, that's one thing I don't think should be tolerated. Like, I don't subscribe to the notion of a lot of these different religions, but my thought process is, if they're finding their spiritual value in doing that, then that's what they should be doing. Yeah. But on the other hand, too, intellectually, I think, well, shouldn't you also do some more deep dives than just what is in a particular book, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Old Testament, the New Testament, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, all these different religious texts, to where are those source documents? What were the in context of what was happening during that time? All the other different arguments for and against, and really filter those things for yourself so you have a better understanding of what it is you're actually believing in. I think that is important. I think it's critical. I think that's why the universe gave us a critical mind.
Definitely, and allowed us to see and touch and feel and experience different things to really learn and make up and make our own path.
For sure.
See what resonates with us.
I like that. I think we'll end on that note. I think that we have to find what resonates with us, that we can move forward with the people that we care about, and gather in ways that are meaningful and so we can have good fellowship that helps each other grow, helps each other in a whole, not just spiritual, but in other ways, with all the things that I just mentioned to make one a well-rounded person. I believe that is what the world needs. I believe we need a lot more of that. We need a lot more love and compassion and understanding, instead of automatically let's go to the dojo or let's go to the cage. Let's go do it.
Not be afraid to realize, all right, maybe I was wrong. So I've gone from atheist to agnostic to different sort of spiritual beliefs, and I'm still not sure right now what I believe, but I had to at some point say, all right, I believe I've been wrong.
Right.
I need to feel this again. I need to really actually try to understand it, and that will, it releases your mind. It sets you free. And
I think that is a wonderful thing about spirituality, is that you know that you don't know. Mm-hmm. You know that there's something there, and through our own individual meditative practices, we connect in our own ways without fully knowing and understanding. I don't believe that the finite mind of man can understand the infinite. It's impossible. We just cannot do it. And if y'all like these conversations, I'm glad that you have joined us this far. We have several different channels, but our main one is Mystics of Texas. So thank you for joining. You can find more information about us if you're in the local area. Come out and see us. We get together every Sunday. Preferably be here a few minutes early at 1:15. And we typically eat after and have a great time of fun and fellowship and talk about all these different topics from our soul to utilizing our critical thinking to practicing the art of listening and the arts of meditation. And we want to tell Mr. Dahl thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks.